Well, welcome back to the Valley Hoops Insider Podcast, this edition of Voices of the Valley. We like to bring to you the writers, reporters, broadcasters that cover the league so terrifically throughout the Missouri Valley Conference. And today we're privileged to have the sports director, I believe, of KTRS. I think that's the right title. The Big 550 KTRS here in St. Louis. They carry the Missouri Valley Conference Arch Madness games into the St. Louis airwaves. And we bring Brendan Wiese into the conversation. Good afternoon, Brendan. Did I get the title correct?
You did, Harry. You absolutely did. And we're thrilled to be back doing Arch Madness for here, if you can believe it, it's our 10th straight year of doing Arch Madness on the Big 550. You've been a part of those, many of the broadcasts. You'll be part of the broadcast again this year. And excited to bring the area the games, and it's been a real blessing to the radio station, and I hope to all the folks that follow the league that we've been able to do these games and do them with passion and energy for the last decade, believe it or not.
It's hard. I was going to ask you how long it had been, and that makes sense. It's 10 years. Brendan, tell us, though, about you. How long for you at KTRS? Give us a little bit of your background for people that don't know you.
Well, it's coming up on 10 years for me in April. So I will have been at the Big 550 for 10 years, brought in by Jimmy Hewer, who, credit to Jimmy for being a part of starting our relationship with the MVC. And obviously it's been going strong ever since. But yeah, I want to say it was Cardinal opening day 2016 when I started. So it was later that summer where we got the rights to the Valley, and it was that following spring where we did our first Arch Madness. So yeah, time flies, and it's been a lot of fun to be part of this property and this event, and being a part of it here at the Big 550.
And you guys also carry Missouri sports and a number of other things. Tell the casual person out in Evansville, why does it make sense for local St. Louis radio to carry the Arch Madness games into the St. Louis Metro and obviously through your website to the whole known Western world?
Yeah, and it's something the Valley's been passionate about for a long time, because if you think back, Harry, and I know you were part of the games on the old iterations on KFNS. I know they were on 101 ESPN here for a while, and no knock to our friends over at 101, but I think when they and they basically just, I think it got to a point where they didn't have room for the property anymore. And I don't think they were able to give it. I mean, at the time, and it's been so long, most of the people that were there aren't there anymore. It got to a point where they weren't able to really give it the attention that it deserved. And I think that's what we've done at KTRS, because in addition to the actual game broadcast, Harry, of course, we do our Valley on the Big 550 weekly show every Monday night at 8:00. And in its infancy, that was like a 15 or 20-minute segment back in 2017, and it's turned into a 1-hour show. It gives us an ability to spotlight different athletes every week, the women's side of the MVC as well, and to give everybody a little expanded look on terrestrial radio. Again, something that I know you're able to do, Harry, with your website and your podcast, but we're able to bring it to the terrestrial side of AM radio, where it deserves a spot, and we're just happy to be able to provide that each and every week.
I think basketball obviously is great on television. I love basketball on the radio. I love it on the radio. I do. And so I'm so glad that you guys are doing it. I think the league deserves the exposure, that you guys bring to it, not just doing the games, but your weekly show, but then the way you promote it all year long. I think it's tremendous what the Big 550 does. Your impressions of the league this year. It's been an interesting year. I think highly competitive. Just your first, off the top of your head, your impressions of how the league has gone this year.
Yeah, it's funny, Harry, because I don't know how if you felt the same way going into the season. I was concerned because of the enormous amount of turnover that we've now seen. It's become an unfortunate collateral damage of the NIL landscape in college sports. And we've seen this league turn over multiple times now. And this past year, it felt even bigger, even though you had programs like Illinois State bring back its core, Northern Iowa bring back its core, and to a certain extent, Belmont. But Belmont, even with its veterans, are also a very young team. When you think of some of the freshmen that contribute to Casey Alexander's team. So I was really concerned about the league and how it would respond. But I think we've seen it's been such a great year of unknown commodities really rising to the top and staking their claim in the league. I think it's been a fabulous year. I think just on the surface, Harry, and I know we talked about it. Mike talked a little bit about it on the conference call this morning. The chances of getting multiple bids, I actually think it's not impossible. If Belmont were to lose in the championship, whether or not we maybe get multiple bids, I think it certainly should be at least discussed, because you look at how weak the bubble is this year. The fact that Auburn's even being talked about as a possible last team in should give you every indication of the bubble strength and lack thereof, and why a team coming out of the Valley like Belmont, if they don't get the auto bid, should absolutely be considered. And I don't think, Harry, entering the start of the year, we would have thought that going into March that there'd even be a possibility of the Valley getting multiple bids. But I think that's where we're at right now, and I think the league should be really proud of the way it's conducted itself this year and given its fans just a remarkable product on the floor.
Belmont 55 in the net this morning, UNI 81, Illinois State 90, Murray State 101. So 4 teams at 101 or better. It's a strong league. I'm afraid your campaign will fall on deaf ears, but like you, I think that Belmont is an NCAA tournament worthy team. The knock, obviously, on the Bruins would be that they didn't play any quad 1 games. And so that affects them in the net, and it affects their national exposure to people. Casey Alexander's team was picked 3rd, 4th, 5th, wherever people picked them in the preseason poll. They win the league. They win the league by 3 games. Is there any question he will be the conference coach of the year?
I think he should be, Harry. And it's interesting when you look at how Belmont has evolved a little bit, and Coach Alexander talked about it on the conference call today. You actually go back to late last year where the identity started to change a little bit, and we had him on the program a few weeks back, and I made mention, you guys have shown the ability to win multiple kind of games. You look at, what game was it? Well, I think it was the UIC game, Harry, up in Chicago, where they won 68-62. They win in a rock fight a couple of days after they scored 103 against Drake and 103 against Murray State the game before that. So they are well equipped to win ball games in a multitude of ways. And I'm not sure we could have said that about Belmont, Harry, a couple of years ago, where they really were sort of I don't want to say a one-trick pony, but they were a team that had to be able to make their threes, had to be able to seemingly score 80 or 85 to win, and they have really evolved. They're a much better defensive team. They've got different ways to beat you, and I think this is a real interesting team that I hope is together for a while. You just never know in today's landscape, but it's a really nice blend of some veterans that have been around the block a few times, and with this program for multiple years, and then obviously multiple freshmen that contribute, especially coming off the bench for this team.
Yeah, they're an interesting bunch. Yeah, and they have some size. Chernovsky and Brigham Rogers in the middle are bigger guys, but a lot of their players that are wing players are 6'7", 6'8", 6'9" guys. so they can rebound the basketball as well. Bigger emphasis on defense as well. Was there any surprise to Brendan Wiese, veteran, wise sage of the Missouri Valley Conference, that Brian Wardle would be near the top at the end of the year? I mean, you can just go to the bank, I think, just put money on Wardle and the Braves being in the top 2 or 3 in the league every year.
Yeah, and it's funny because their metrics, Harry, aren't great,
No.
right? And Coach Wardle talked about that today on the call, that this is a group that is not going to get the benefit of the doubt from those metrics, but in an environment like this where Coach Wardle has been successful at Arch Madness multiple times, it feels like they're a group that's in a really good spot because they're used to winning the close ball games. They're capable of winning games on the road, and they've beaten good teams at home, and they've at times had to beat them in overtime like they did Belmont a few weeks ago, Harry. So I think that for Bradley, they're a really fascinating case study, because I think we absolutely could see them cut the nets down on Sunday. And if they did, it's probably a byproduct of multiple close games. I think if we're to look at margin of victory by the time this tournament is over, Bradley may not be all that they could be in like the 5 or 6, 7 range, and you look up but they've won 2 or 3 games. That's their brand of basketball, and obviously you said it. It's due in large part to Brian Wardle's coaching and what he's been able to provide this program now for a long, long time.
Yeah, 11 years there, and his team gets better every year as the season wears on, and so impressed by that. If it's not Belmont, Brendan Wiese, who do you think is cutting down the nets on Sunday? Well, it'll be afternoon by the time the game's over, but we're starting at 11 a.m. Sunday morning.
I love that, right? Yeah, an earlier start, which I think from the Valley's perspective, how many times, Harry, have we seen Sunday afternoon, and whether it's an American conference, maybe the Big Ten's got a game, that the odds of them blowing past 1 o'clock Central and the Valley having to tip off their game at like 1:20 or something, they'll get to tip off shortly after 11 o'clock. There's no games bleeding into their window, so that's going to be tremendous. Can't wait for that on Sunday. If we're looking for those teams to sneak up and find their way into the championship and maybe win it, if it's not Belmont or Bradley, UIC is really interesting. And Rob Eason's team, when you look at their resume and you look back on after January 4th, Harry, and they were 5-10, they were 0-4 in the league. Getting Elijah Crawford acclimated to this league, the BYU transfer, and turning him into a legitimate first-team All-Valley player, it's really been remarkable. And I think UIC is right there. And they've played some tight games in this tournament. I feel like they've been on the wrong side of some really tight games in this tournament the last few years. So obviously there are some lessons learned, not so much from the players because most of the players are different, but I think for Coach Eason, he's been here enough and he's seen this play out to where I think his group is poised to maybe flip this thing a couple of different times, and I would not be surprised to see them playing on Sunday.
They'd have to get by Belmont in the semis. That would be an interesting call.
Yep.
You mentioned Elijah Crawford. I'm a voter. I guess you are too, probably for the All-League thing. I voted him All-Conference. I voted him Newcomer of the Year. The young man didn't play until you were talking the 2nd or 3rd or 4th of January, and their team changed dramatically overnight. I mean, the guy dramatically changed their team, and they play Murray State the first round in that 2:30 game in the first round of the quarterfinals, and Murray beat him close twice, and they didn't have Crawford either time. He wasn't with the team yet, coming back from injury in the first game. Second game, he got a flagrant 2 or whatever it was and got kicked out of the game 1 minute in.
Yep.
And so they've beaten them close twice without arguably one of the top 5 or 6 or 7 players in the league.
he changes things dramatically. And I think it's funny, Harry. I imagine you just said it. You've already cast your ballot. I did mine last night. And that newcomer of the year, the all newcomer team, is one of the more challenging to put together, because I think for me and that newcomer, it was between Alex Huberts and Elijah Crawford for my top newcomer in the conference. And I think I might have voted Huberts, to be honest, but it came right down between those two. And I think that's an incredible, and again, it goes to show you this year in the league how good the newcomers, how good the freshmen have been in the conference. And it's something that, again, we got to get used to, because it's going to happen just about every year as this league stays relevant. But the heck of a job by the coaches in this conference to be able to reload and do it now multiple years in a row. And this might be the best just new group of players up and down that I think we've ever seen. And the newcomers are a big reason why this conference has been so fun.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. I don't know if you're like me. I'm a protest voter on the newcomer award. There are no freshmen on my list. I think give the freshmen a freshman award, give the newcomers a newcomer award. So not one freshman on my newcomer list.
I can't say the same, but I didn't have any freshmen all that high on my newcomer board, but I did not protest vote, Harry. I can say
I'm
that.
Totally a protest vote in that way. So yeah, and when I talked about the freshmen, give us a little behind the curtain look. I really struggled. I think there's Ramon Doman and there's JT Pettigrew and a couple of others, but I think that was more hotly contested than I thought it would be, because early in the year it was Ramon Doman's to lose, and I think he probably still held on to it, but there were some terrific freshmen.
Ramon Doman for me, Harry, but Pettigrew, obviously an incredible run. And I got to say, I don't know about you, and I don't know if we're allowed, I don't know if we're embargoed to talk about our votes or not, but you mentioned yours, so I can. Coach of the year, I did not vote him to win it, but I had Roger Powell in my top 3 for coach of the year. What he has done at Valpo has been remarkable when you consider his roster was completely stripped down after last year's great run to Saturday. And he just goes out and finds more high-level freshmen that I hate to say it, are they also going to hit the portal then this summer? And they might, because they've played that well. And it's the dilemma these coaches face. Our own Frank Cusimano's talked about it on his program. Frank will be on the call for one of the games, by the way, coming up Friday on the Big 550. But the dilemma that these coaches face, where if you've got a really talented freshman, how well do you want to see them play? Do you want to see them play at an all-conference level? Because there's a good chance they might have to hit the portal. And what Roger Powell has done, where his top guys last year, Cooper Schwieger is one thing, but to watch All Right, who was a freshman, a tremendous freshman, walk away as well. He just goes out and finds another crop of incredible freshmen. And I think for the first time, Valpo's got a winning conference record since joining the Valley. They've been tremendous. The freshmen have been a huge part of it, and obviously are going to be in the running. Both of those very talented freshmen at Valpo in the running for freshman of the year.
Looking forward to the weekend. Brendan, you guys have the rights to all of the games, but tell us, at times, because of Mizzou and different things, the games are moved around. We have 3 games on Thursday, 4 on Friday, the 2 on Saturday, championship on Sunday. The Big 550 KTRS. Are there games that will be moved here and there during the weekend this year?
No, sir. In fact, I think it's the last 2 years, because that certainly used to be the case.
Yeah.
The nice thing is the SEC this year has basically been just Tuesday and Wednesday. So Mizzou plays tomorrow night, Tuesday, at Oklahoma. So that clears out any possible dilemmas for the games during the week. And then Saturday, they play about as early as they could possibly play, 11 a.m. against Arkansas at home. So we do not have to move the games anywhere. Or I think the last few times there was that conflict, they would land, I think, on just our stream, and then we joined it over the air. But No, I think Mizzou should end our Mizzou post game should end right when we're walking up to our semifinal pregame on Saturday afternoon. So no conflicts there. It's great news, and I think for a lot of our fans and folks that listen to our coverage on the Big 550, we're so college sports and high school sports heavy. It's not to say you're not. There's Cardinal baseball talk, Harry, but I mean, obviously
there right there,
and some it's a little bit of blues, but there's other places in town, whether you're going to Camo X or 101 to hear about the Cardinals and Blues, and we're going to try to give you at least with me a heavy dose of college and high school sports, and certainly getting that with the MVC and obviously with Mizzou coming up then next week in the SEC tournament.
You and I have very similar passions. I know that's true. Appreciate you being with us. I want to ask you one final question.
Yeah.
There's 11 coaches in the Missouri Valley Conference, and there's been dozens over the last 10 years. You guys have been covering the tournament. Give me a coach that you've had the most fun with in conversation or over the years covering the tournament or covering the league.
There's been a lot. I'll tell you right now, Brian Wardle's always really accommodating with his time at Bradley. I mean, I miss, and I'm sure you do as well, Loyola, and obviously he's not there anymore, but Porter Moser at Loyola was always tremendous.
Yep.
And he always was a big champion of what we were doing at the Big 550. I remember the look on his face when he saw Rammer about to do a game with us, because of course Porter, with his during his time at SLU, knew Rammer quite well. So those were always fun. But as you see, Harry, and your tremendous coverage covering these coaches, they are all very approachable, and they're just incredibly easy to work with. And it's going to be fabulous here these next few days to be able to tell their story again, and hopefully have a lot of very compelling basketball to talk about as well.
11 Missouri Valley Conference basketball games coming up on the Big 550 KTRS this weekend. 3 on Thursday, 4 on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Sunday. Brendan, how many of the games will you be on the call?
It's the one chance I get to do play-by-play, and Harry, I do take advantage of it. I'll be on the call.
I love it.
I'll call. So I've always called the night games because it's when I'm on the air. So I'll do Thursday and Friday night, and then I'll do the semi-Saturday and the championship game on Sunday. Rammer starts us off with the first call on Thursday, and then he's got to head off to do Billiken stuff, so he'll only be able to do Thursday. I've got Frank Cusimano leading us off Friday at noon for the Belmont game. And then Harry, you're kind enough to join us once again for what should be a really good 4-5 matchup. That 2:30 game on Friday is always tremendous, and excited to have you call that for us Friday on the Big 550.
Appreciate the opportunity and love what you guys do, because I'm such a Valley apologist. I'm so in the Valley's corner, and love what you guys do, and love that you're having a Rammer on and Frank. I mean, they do a great job. And of course, those guys are as invested in college athletics and college basketball as anybody in town.
Absolutely. And Rammer's got, we were able to celebrate him into the St. Louis Sports Hall of Fame a few weeks ago. He, of course, calls Lindenwood as well. So he's supporting, as I know you do, the OVC, the MVC, the Billikens. This is, Harry, we're on the precipice, I think, of one of our best St. Louis marches that maybe we've ever had. Maybe we got to go all the way back to the Final Four of 2005, because Illinois came through and played in that championship game. But we'll obviously have Arch Madness. But then I think now it's pretty safe to say Mizzou, SLU, and Illinois are all going to be in the tournament. And there's a chance 1, 2, or 3 of those teams will come through St. Louis to play in the first round here in a few weeks. It's going to be fabulous. And I know for folks, and I know you've seen this as well, it helps to have our local St. Louis teams in the mix. And then I just feel like people are invested in college basketball a lot sooner. Everybody is in March.
Yeah.
Everybody's in the March Madness. But when your local teams are thriving, you just the coverage starts sooner. And I've noticed that. I'm sure you have as well. and the energy around SLU's been huge. But now here he's sneaking up is Mizzou because they're playing some of their best basketball right now. Illinois has been a top 10 team all season, so it's been really fun to watch. And then the Valley kicks it all off here this week.
That's Brendan Wiese. He's the sports director at the Big 550 KTRS. They cover all of the Missouri Valley Conference Arch Madness games coming up this weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And yeah, I guess even tonight, you'll have the show tonight. And so folks, get to the Big 550 KTRS to take in all things Missouri Valley Conference. Brendan, really appreciate your time today.
Thanks, Harry.
That's Brendan Wiese. Folks, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all those things I'm supposed to tell you about YouTube. And remember, since you've been there, make it a better place. We'll see you again real soon.